Welcome back to the channel. It's Jim. Today, I'm very excited because I'm getting to speak to someone who I regard as prog rock royalty. I really do. And it's none other than Mr. Jordan Rudess. Hello, Jordan. How the devil are you?
Hey, Jim, I'm doing well. It's getting very busy around here. I'll say that, with my album release coming out, the Dream Theater tour coming up, and all kinds of stuff going on.
You've got so much stuff happening. I'm hoping we'll sort of touch on a bit of that over the course of this chat. But it's been a bit of a mission to get this interview going, really, because I think there's been just trying to get our sort of dates lined up, time differences. I think you had to catch a flight at one stage and say, oh, no, so it all got sort of knocked out of the flight. But we're here at last. We're here at last. What's the time where you are? Where are you?
Oh, I'm in New York. I'm at home right now, and it's about 5 after 10 in the morning.
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon here.
There you go. So you're more awake than I am. Although I just got back from the gym, so I feel I'm pumped up to talk to you.
Energized.
That's supposed to be what it's about, right?
Absolutely. I chat to Adam Holzman from time to time. You know Adam. He's because he's over in New York, and he tends to sort of come on at about sort of 7 o'clock in the morning for him, because it's just, I'm just getting up, a cup of coffee. So how do you do that? I mean, that's crazy early.
That's early. Yeah, right. I prefer not to be up at that hour, but you know.
We are here because obviously your new album, Permission to Fly, comes out in about a week's time, isn't it? 6th of September. Tell me a bit about the record, man. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, it's getting exciting because the release date is going to happen.
Yeah.
I just got copies of the vinyl and the CD at home as well, so I could, feel the physical merchandise, which is always really fun. So this album, it's funny when I think about these things and talking about the feeling of holding it in your hand. As a creator, and as all creators know, it's sometimes, or most of the time, a huge challenge to bring these things to life, right? Even if you've done them however number of times before, whenever you set upon a new project, it's huge. And it's always more steps than you care to remember.
For sure.
Right? From beginning to like this point. And it's extremely rewarding if you can pull it off. But it's certainly a challenge. Things like, well, first you got to decide what you want to do. Like, well, okay, I want to make an album. I have this much time. And what is it going to be? Who's going to be on it? Why am I doing it? Where am I doing it? How am I doing it? All the millions of questions. And also there's, I don't know, people out there might be able to relate to it that make books, albums, whatever. But like, okay, I did it before, but can I do it again? Or how the hell did I do that? There's a little, like a little
self-doubt sort of thing.
There's a self-doubt thing that maybe it's just my, crazy world, but there's that element that comes in.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think most people, unless you've got sort of like crazy big ego, have this sort of this self-doubt or imposter syndrome thing. No matter how good you are and how good you get at it, and how many things you sell, or how many people tune in to watch your channel, for example, or something like that, you still have this. I think they're going to find out one day. They're going to realize that I'm not that good at this, and it's
that's so funny. So that's definitely a thing. So, but finally, like in this case, talking about the specifics of Permission to Fly, I came up with a concept. I realized that I wanted to do like a follow-up to Wired for Madness, but I wanted to do it in a different way. So in my life, as you probably know, Dream Theater is my band, and it's the main thing, but I also stay very active doing my solo albums, which is very important to me.
Sure.
But in that solo album world, it's not all the same, because I'm a kind of a pianist at heart, and I've done many albums that are really focused or just on piano, and it can be very different stylistically.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy kind of getting into my prog rock, electronic kind of headspace and doing albums like that. So this one, I wanted to be in that kind of a vein, but I wanted, the one thing I decided that was a couple things actually that made it different than before is I wanted to have it be more vocal, more like songs, or even if it's very proggy and extended or epic, I wanted there to be a lot of vocal parts mixed in. This is the feeling I wanted to get. I felt like, you know, I was thinking about it, and it's kind of like I listen to a lot of music myself, and when I listen to music, I generally listen to things like with vocals. That's what I enjoy. And I also enjoy things that are a lot of times I enjoy things that are a little bit more mellow or spacey than people might think, being in Dream Theater. So I wanted to make my own music, you know, reflect that.
I kind of I'd noticed that. I was going to ask you sort of a question along those lines. That I've had a chance. I've been very lucky. I've actually heard the album already. I've been sent a digital copy to listen to. And one of the observations I was going to make about it is it is far less heavy than Dream Theater. And what I was going to say about that, I think you've kind of answered the question already, but was that a conscious decision, or was that because you're writing for keyboard, it's going to be naturally less heavy?
Yeah, well, I think in my musical world, my catalog, you know, everything I've done is less heavy than Dream Theater because for a bunch of reasons. One reason is I'm a keyboardist. You know, I'm working with my sonic tools, my palette of colors, that's kind of like my main focus is that. And if I use guitar sounds, guitar is one of the many colors that is part of the sonic palette. The other reason that is because, you know, my background is I went from being a young classical pianist. I went to Juilliard when I was 9. I stayed there till I was almost 19. And then I left because I discovered Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Tarkus and Gentle Giant and Genesis and Yes and King Crimson and Renaissance and you know all the bands.
You're name checking all of the right ones there.
I mean those were the key influences in my life that kind of brought me like away from just playing classical piano, leaving Juilliard and then trying to figure out this mad world that was outside of the strict kind of like classical focus. It wasn't easy. It took many years to sort that out. But that's where I'm coming from. The metal stuff, I mean, I listened to Black Sabbath when I was when I was upset with my parents about something and I was getting to be 17. I slam the door and crank up Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. But it was more like episodic.
For sure.
Like to be into that kind of thing. And I liked it, you know, I liked a little AC/DC here and there, but the metal stuff, you know, it's never really my spirit. It never it isn't. So, you know, I enjoy it enough that my role in Dream Theater can be played well, I think, because I'm not like, no, it's metal, you know, I'm like, oh, that's cool, it's heavy, you know, I can do that. But when it comes to making my own albums, I'm expressing, I feel like, who I am in the fullest extent. And that's what solo albums are all about.
Absolutely.
So that's why it comes out the way it is. I literally feel like when I'm working on an album, imagine me like I'm a painter and I'm literally sitting there with my whole palette of colors and I'm splashing colors onto the canvas, which is a very different approach than any band stuff that I do. So this album, I wanted to find a really great singer, somebody who I felt could really work within that palette and be part of it. And I wanted the song elements to feel maybe a little bit more easy, or what's the word, like relaxing or kind of soothing, even if it was progressive. And I luckily found Joe Payne, thanks to Roy at Prog Report. He actually introduced me to him. I didn't know anything. I didn't know him at all. I had never heard of the Enid, which is the group that he used to sing in. I know a lot of old proggers had, you know, especially in the UK, knew of the Enid. But I didn't. But anyway, I heard his voice and I ended up asking him if he wanted to sing on my album. And he was awesome to work with because he has I think, a beautifully melodic voice. And he's also a lovely guy. And on top of that, he's a knowledgeable musician, and you can, you know, send him MIDI files and he can figure out harmonies, and he can really go for it and offer things that are more than just, you know, singing the melody I told him to sing. He did some beautiful things with the melodies that I wrote, and he also offered me some great like vocal arrangements of certain sections, you know, more than just like singing in thirds or, you know, sixth or whatever the usual thing might be. So he was great. So, and then, you know, speaking about the players, so then I also had a drummer from the UK, Darby Todd, who is fantastic drummer, just a great guy, and I just enjoyed working with him so much, so capable. He wasn't scared of my odd time signatures, my madness at all. He literally said to me, "Look, Jordan, they hire me to do the hard stuff, so don't worry, I got it. I'm going to do it." So yeah, and he and Joe actually recorded all their parts in their own studios, and they sounded great. So I was able to deliver their parts directly to Jimmy T, my mixer. And the person who also records the Dream Theater albums, actually. So that was really great. And then the other musicians that I had on it, Steve Dedayan played electric and acoustic guitars. Steve is a really good friend of mine. Steve is also a full-time dentist, but he's one of these guys that whatever he touches, he just does incredibly well. So he's a brilliant guitarist as well. And the way that happened that he played on the album is kind of funny, because I was talking about my sonic palette, right? My sonic palette has, you know, strings and brass and pads and leads and spacey sounds and all the things that come out of my synthesizers and my software, and also, you know, guitar sounds and whatever. So I was working on this one song one day, and I was putting down guitar sounds from my keyboard, which sounded cool, really cool. And he couldn't deny that they sounded cool, and nobody would even, if you heard it on the record, you go, "Oh, sounds cool." But he was like, "Jordan, let me take the parts you played on the keyboard that sound like guitar, and let me do it on guitar, and just let me know what you think." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, cool." So he took it and he sent it back to me. I was like, "Yeah, that's great. That real, you know, you would never say it. You wouldn't. I don't think anybody would say, 'Oh, that sucks,' if it was just the stuff I did originally. But having that, it just gave it this extra energy and life that I thought was really great,
and an authenticity probably you didn't realize wasn't there.
It was, you know, I mean, it just was great. He did a great job. So, so there was that, and then I also, for a couple of songs, I had this guy whose name is Bastian Martinez, who's a young Chilean guitarist, one of these, like you'd say, next generation, like amazing guitar players. Also a lovely young person. Play on two of the songs. He played on the song "Into the Lair." There are these like trades going back. He sounds a little like Petrucci like. But he played on that song, and he also played on Embers, which was the first song that I released. Into the Lair hasn't come out yet. And then finally, speaking about the musicians, I also played some guitar on the album. After all, I didn't do as much as I thought I would. I thought I would do some of the rhythms. I ended up not doing that. Simple reason is because when I set out to do all the guitar parts, I realized I forgot about one thing. I forgot to learn how to record audio. Because my world is recording MIDI. All my stuff is MIDI, are MIDI instruments. It's a very different recording technique. And so when I went to do it, I was like, "Oh shit. Like I don't want to take the time to figure out how to manipulate audio." So I ended up playing 3 guitar solos on the album that I could just kind of like more like find a time and play it through. So so that was, you know, that was an interesting addition. And important to me because I've been playing guitar over the last few years. It's become a serious hobby for me. And I wanted to put some guitar down on the album as well. So I did that. And last, but definitely not least, is my daughter, Ariana, who wrote all the lyrics for the album. And so the way that all happened was that when I decided that I wanted to have this album be very vocal, you need a lot of lyrics, and I could have written them, and I kind of enjoy writing lyrics, but you know, that's not my specialty. It's like, if I sing, I'm a keyboard player who might sing. If I
Yeah.
really want a vocal album, I'm going to hire a singer.
Yeah.
So in this case, I wanted somebody whose specialty is the language and using the language in creative ways. And that's what my daughter does. And although we've never worked like on this level of professional, like album type of thing, we've been doing stuff her whole life together. She's
Right.
been trained in the art of progressive rock since she was in nursery school, learning odd meters and understanding my music and the kind of things that are part of my world.
Yeah,
So
had a good schooling.
She took that project and ran with it and created some really, I think, some great lyrics.
Cool.
So those are the players.
So she works in music as well. Your daughter?
She's not a professional in the music world. She is a linguist. She has a degree in language, and she speaks fluent Italian and French and Spanish. It's kind of her thing.
Yeah.
She actually is in the recruiting world.
Okay. Well, on listening to the record, it actually does, although it's got your name obviously on the cover, it does sound like a band record. And by that, it sounds like everyone has contributed and everyone is making their mark on the record. Yeah. To what extent were the guys involved actually sort of doing their own thing, or did you just give them a sort of a bit of a steer? Was it very, very tightly controlled, or you gave them a bit of freedom to express themselves as well?
Well, I was really lucky because I hadn't worked with these guys before, but what ended up happening is they were very like understanding, almost as if we had worked together for years or something like that.
Yeah.
Because when I talking about Joe again, when he did his vocals, I sent him melodies that I kind of played with a silly little vocal sound so he could hear the melody. But then he was able to take it and say, you know what, I'll do this little inflection here, this thing here. I'm going to add a harmony here. What do you think? If you don't like it, we can go back to what you played or whatever. And I was like, no, and most every time that he presented me with something like that, I was like, yes, like bring it on, man. Like, because I kind of feel like, and I realize this is totally the way I'm thinking about it, and I think the way it comes off is that, my music world is pretty large in the sense that I listen to a lot of styles and kind of incorporate a lot of things into the music, but it's still just me, right? And the beauty of a band or working with other musicians, I think, is when you start to take in other ideas from other people, like it becomes more than one individual.
Yeah.
So, that's totally what happened with the guys. I mean, Joe offered great things, and it is part of the album that is his, energy and his creativity. And with Darby, so what I did is I played he asked me to do some scratch drums for him, and I just do it on the keyboard. I bang out the drums, which were fine, just like functional, showing where I felt the beats, and it was okay. I sent them to him, and he was able to go, okay, I got this, and he understood. And when he sent me back the parts, he did all these great things, and he was like, what do you think? And there wasn't that much of me going back and saying, oh no, do this, change that, do that. A lot of it was like, wow, man, that's really,
so
really cool. You really understand my music. It's great. And occasionally I'd be like, oh, could you just hit this accent there?
Yeah.
But the level of, just being there kind of with me and understanding it was really kind of amazing, very synchronous, I guess you could say. So all the guys, and Steve, he just nailed he took my parts and just did a great job. And so I think that the end result was just what I wanted, because it ends up sounding more band-like than anything I've done solo before.
You can actually hear it, really, really can. I'd also say that it does sound a very proggy album, and by that I mean it sounds like it is absolutely inspired and influenced by that. So that golden period of the early 1970s, where you had these incredible albums coming out by these incredible bands. Again, are you consciously inspired by that golden period, or is it now just like a natural part of your DNA? So whatever you write is going to be using that stuff anyway.
All of the above. I think that first of all, like I wear my Emerson influence, and even my Wakeman Mraz
Yeah,
influences on my sleeve. I don't think that I don't feel like they need to be hidden at all. If
of
anything,
course
those
not. No, no.
influences they need to be celebrated. And
Yeah,
one of the reasons I feel like I can celebrate them is because I feel like I have a lot of personal Jordan things that develop through the years that are really me.
yeah.
But I would be totally lying to somebody if I said that the Emerson thing wasn't so like vital, like in my mind, and I want to show it.
Yeah.
Like there's parts on the album where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going for the full like Heat thing. I'm just going to get that effect, that
Yeah.
that thing, because it's awesome and people should remember that. And it's I still, turn people on to the early classic prog things,
Yeah.
when I get the feeling that if they've never heard
Yeah.
it and I get the feeling they might be interested. So, especially when they listen to, somebody who listens to my music and they hear something, oh, I like that. And I go,
Yeah.
well, you should hear
If you like this,
Darkest,
yeah,
something like
absolutely.
that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely, it's all definitely part of my DNA. And I think the right word is I kind of like celebrate it,
That's
but
great.
at the same time, I'm not trying to make, music of the 70s. I mean, that's not
No,
what it's
no.
about. There's a lot of other things going on, I think, sonically and just stylistically in my life and in my music. So, but definitely it's there. You can't major
Yeah.
influence.
No, no,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to suggest that it was like a I don't know, like a sort of not a cover of a 1970s. That isn't what I meant at all. But you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
hear a lot of that sound
Right.
in there. Of course, there's a
That's
lot
cool.
of very, very contemporary sounds in there as well. There's a lot of electronics and there's a lot of sequenced parts as well. I can hear sort of bits and pieces which sound really, really cool and very sort of up to date and very modern with interesting filters and sweeps and LFOs going on there on the synths and whatnot. So there's all of that sort of really good modern stuff as well mixed in with the old, and I think it makes a really heady mix. And I think you've done a really, really good job with it. It sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, man. It's still.
You're releasing through Inside Out. It's such a great label. There's so much amazing music coming out from that label.
Yeah.
Do you keep tabs on much of their output, or is it just there's so much it's difficult to do so?
I like to as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bands, that they basically, have. So yeah, I'll listen to as much as I can. I mean, I'm getting busy, but I'll take time. Like once I'm in the tour, once I get out on tour, and I'm in a flow of it, then I have days off, and
Yeah.
I can sit and I can listen to stuff. But I still really enjoy listening to music, and I enjoy listening to proggy stuff.
Yeah.
And my taste tends to be towards the mellower, spacey kind of things generally. But yeah, no, I like a lot of the Inside Out stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Glad there's a label that's still doing that, right?
It is absolutely, yeah. You toured last year with Devin Townsend and with Animals as Leaders, didn't you? The Dream Sonic tour. That must have been interesting hearing some of their stuff as well, because they, again, both of them are doing quite different things from Dream Theater and from each other. It's a sort of lot, all obviously very sort of guitar based, but again, really, really cool sounding stuff.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, they're like Animals as Leaders. They're incredible, It's what those guys do with their guitars, and just the sound they make is so unique and really, really special. And of course, Devin is great, and that's how I met Darby. Well, I have to tell you one of the really funny things that touring with Devin kind of brings to the world is that, like, I'd be like in my dressing room, like warming up, whatever, and like Devin and his gang would be in the dressing room right next to me, and I felt like I was either sometimes listening to like somebody from like Broadway, like warming up, or the next second I think I'm listening to the Devil, or the next second I'm listening to like just like regular vocal warm ups. Or he's got such an incredible like range and voice. He can do anything with that voice, and it's like or like you feel like you're next to a lunatic asylum because you're going,
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just singing. One second it's really smooth, next second he sounds like a monster. It's like really, he's got a wild thing
Yeah.
going on there with his
Even within the
voice.
same song.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So it was a
Extraordinary.
very nice tour,
Cool.
just because the guys were great and great music
Yeah.
and very different from each other. So
Yeah.
that is also pretty
Yeah.
cool.
You've made a lot of albums now over the years. Am I right? It's 11 Dream Theater albums, 3
Oh,
Liquid Tension experiment ones. This is as in studio albums.
yeah.
How many solo albums? It's 20, isn't it?
110.
No, this.
No, I lost count. Ask one of my Japanese fans. They'll tell you the exact details.
Do you have a favorite? Obviously, this record now coming out is your favorite. Of course it is. But do you have a favorite beyond that? Looking back over the career.
No, I wouldn't say I have a favorite. I would say that if you told me what kind of music you like from me in general, I might be able to point you to different things. But they're, when you do these things, they're like children, they're like all of them. Dream Theater, Liquid Tension, it's all you put your heart and soul and your mind into them, and nothing. I think one of the things that's part of our world and like the Dream Theater universe and all the related solo albums and projects is that we don't do these things lightly. We're doing them until we feel that they are right and we're totally behind them and have done everything in our power to deliver something of complete substance. So there's no holding back, there's no halfway. So, and I'd say that it's pretty much the case for anything that I'm going to put out there into the world. So yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about all of it.
I guess you can't have a favorite child, can you? It's the same sort of
it is like that. But if somebody, like, sometimes I'll meet somebody and they'll hear me play the piano and maybe I'll be improvising or something like that, and they'll go, oh, that's like so soothing or whatever, the response is. And I'll say, you know what, you should go check out, like, I have an album out called All That Is Now. That's a piano album. And what the goal of that album was there's a certain headspace if I'm sitting at the piano and I'm by myself and very calm that I can just kind of like make happen. And it's a little bit harder sometimes if the recording light is on or if there are people around. It's a very personal kind of musical expression. And on that album, for whatever reasons, or I don't know what, I feel like I really captured that spirit that I feel is intimate and personal, and I was able to like share it because it was recorded. And so I'll recommend that. I'll say, oh, if you like that, just check out that album because it's got that vibe, but it's,
Oh, cool. Cool. Going back, you were saying about sort of you put your heart and your soul and as much effort as possible into making something as perfect as it can be. I kind of got that feeling before I'd even known about this record coming out by a chat I had earlier in the year with a fella called Riley McDonald, who is in the band Advent Horizon. So we had a long chat, and he was saying about your collaboration on the track called Calling It Off, and what an absolute delight it was when the track came back from you and how much more you'd given than they could possibly have hoped. They were so bowled over by that.
That's nice.
Yeah, it really was. And I thought that speaks volumes of both your work ethic and also how much you wanted to contribute and be involved and to sort of and do something special. It really made a big difference to them, I think. It was a really lovely thing.
Nice to hear. Thanks for letting me know that. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, this music is it's what I do, right?
Yeah, for sure. You're sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's I was going to say that one of the interesting things that I think people that are like not musicians or even some musicians are interested in is the idea of like music playing music or expressing music, however you do it, it's a, you know, it's a language, right?
Mm,
It's a language. To me, the way I feel about it is that it's kind of like there's musical words, right? You learn these phrases, these parts, the scales, the arpeggios, the different shapes, like on a guitar, and they become your words. And
yes.
the way you put them together and articulate them is how good a musician or how good a, let's say, speaker you are. And one of the things that actually I've always done, even when I started playing the piano, is I always had kind of a knack for being able to just speak without any musical, like there's no notes, there's nothing. I'll just kind of like play music. So people be like, they'd say to me like, "What is that you're playing?" I'd be like, "I don't know.
It just
I'm just
happens.
playing. I'm just playing." Yeah. So that interesting headspace and that interesting skill that, you know, I've been working on my whole life to kind of put those musical words together is something that's so like important to me because I feel like it's my main language.
Mm,
Like, you know, when we're talking right now, we're improvising. You don't know exactly what's going to come out of your
no, of
mouth the
course,
next
no.
second, but somehow your mouth starts to move and, you know, ideas start to come
Yes,
together, luckily, and we have this flow. This is improvising. This is totally
absolutely. Yeah,
improvising.
yeah.
And then you think about, like, I'll meet a musician and they can't improvise or they won't. And I'm like, to me, it's like, I get it. I understand. There's a block there, right? There's like a wall against that kind of thing. But on the other hand, think about it from the perspective of what I'm saying. You can't improvise. You can't just say your musical
No,
words and
it's like when trying to have a conversation with somebody at a call center when they've got a script and they're trying to sell you insurance or something like that. You can't talk about anything else. It's literally got to be that one thing. It's
right.
and I suppose that's the same thing with music, isn't it? Absolutely, it is, and it's why musicians, anybody who plays live, every time you play is going to be different because you're reacting to the room and you're reacting to the audience, you're reacting to what sort of day you've had and your
Sure.
bandmates, what they're like on the day and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is a
I mean,
language.
so, you know, but that said, certain things are pretty, you know, pretty stylistically, or in certain bands or certain situations, you're trying to play a part. Like, there's no
Sure,
doubt. Like
sure.
in, you know, let's take Dream Theater as an example. Like, there's a lot of places where I'm going to play the part, but there's a lot of places, and I'm probably like the one who does this the most, where I will play it differently every night. Like if I'm just comping, like I'm playing piano against the vocal or something like that, or playing big chords, I'll play them like differently. Like I won't play the same voice leading every night. I feel, you know, a different kind of sense of inspiration
Yeah.
each night. It's a different vibe, and I'll use that to play it a little bit differently. But the Dream Theater thing is pretty locked in, you know. But I'll also, you know, like when I was doing my last round of solo concerts a few years ago, I would walk out on stage, and I had a program of stuff I was going to play. But the first thing I would play was totally off the top of my head. I would just come on stage, I kind of take a look at the audience for a second, take a couple of breaths, and just go, okay, how are we going to get this started? And I put my hands on the keyboard and I play a piece.
Yeah.
But that I never, yeah, I didn't have any plan at all. And it was, you know, it just whatever came out of my hands at the
Yeah.
moment and out of my mind and my emotions. But I think it's an interesting thing to point out because I think that's maybe it's a unique skill that I have, but I think that other people who are like young musicians and older musicians as well might benefit or even be interested to hear about this perspective of it, because music is so important in all our lives, and it is a language, and you know, and it's also mysterious to
Hmm.
try to understand like where it comes from, like why sometimes, like some days I'll sit down and I feel more like the antennas might have a little bit of you know, dirt on them or something, or some kind of block, or there's
Yeah.
clouds in the sky, and I'm like, wow, I'm not connecting as much as like yesterday, you know. And or
Yeah.
some days I'll sit down and go, oh my god, that just totally flowed, you know. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of being a
Yeah.
human being too, which is different than my musical AI projects. Actually, it's a
Absolutely.
different thing.
I mean, I write a bit of music, and you're right. It's sometimes it just is so easy. It's sort of something happens. So, oh right, and oh, of course this has got to happen. Of course that's going to happen. And the melody, where did that melody come from? I don't know, but it's brilliant. That's going to run. And another time you just sit there and you say, right, I'll go and make another cup of coffee. Come back.
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
I finished that
right.
coffee. I go and get another. I just can't get anything to go at all. It's weird. Isn't
I
it?
know it's
The
funny. Or
muse.
when, yeah, but when you, but like, well, that's an interesting thing you bring up, because like when you're composing, right, it can be a different headspace. Like if I just sat down right now and played the piano, I play the piano, and
Yeah.
now I feel pretty good. I'd probably play something that was pretty nice, and I just play it through, it'd be fine. But if I stop and say, okay, I want to compose this piece, here, I'll bring you over there and give you an example.
Okay.
Because I'm right near my piano. So why don't we just
Let's do it.
do the real thing. All right. So putting my guitar down, which I have on the piano bench. So yeah, so I'm talking to you, and we got a little vibe going, and all of a sudden, and I'm never played whatever I'm going to play before, but I might be like, oh, and you know what I should do is turn on the zoom parameter that allows you to actually hear it. Which
yes, do that.
Here we go. Okay, that should be on. Can you hear the piano?
Yes, all good.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to play, and then we're going to talk about this. So here we go. Whatever comes into my head, right? It could be a song, whatever. But if I was composing, like I would go, oh yeah, I kind of like that. And then I go back and I say, what did I just play? Let's see. Like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I like the first chord. But nah, and then it'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Oh my god. Ah, great. I'll write that down. Well, no, maybe the last chord. That's better. It starts to become, everything starts to slow down, maybe for good reasons. But there's a beauty in the flow that just happens without the thinking.
Yeah.
There's a beauty in the decision making, right? As well. So, like on Permission to Fly, the way that a lot of the songs came together for that album is I captured a bunch of bits. I'd be at the piano, like one of the bits I had was, I remember just sitting down and vibing with this. And I was like, and that's all I captured. And then daughter Ari, who not only wrote the words but helped me sort through all these little bits of improvisations, we went back and we found the little magic, what we felt were like the little magic ones. And then I had to go in the studio and say, okay, let's but where's it going? And no, that'll make a nice chorus, but then what's the verse?
Right.
So there's like two sides of the way, and people ask, how do you compose? Like, what is the process there? And I'll be like, well, very often my composition stems out of improvisation. I won't necessarily improvise the whole thing, although that song that's I don't know if you heard this one, but the song that's called Dreamer,
The last one,
the one that's very just like string pattern, that was primarily 95% improvised.
Right.
And then I went back and orchestrated a little bit and maybe changed a couple little things, but that was just a stream of consciousness. Just played it.
Cool.
I was feeling something and I just played, and I went, oh, I like that. That's good.
Can you put your Zoom settings back to the other one again?
The audio is better that way for the talking. All right. There we go. Is that better?
That's cool. Yeah, it is. Those all. I've captured all the piano. It was quite distorted though. It's getting quite. But that's cool. But I will better hear it.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Are you listening to anything in particular at the minute outside of what you've been doing?
Oh, right now, not a whole lot. I heard Frost's new single, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that because I think Jem and the boys are so talented. So that was great. I heard a really great, not that long ago, I was turned on to a group that I think was really excellent. And I usually don't listen to a lot of the like prog metal stuff, but I listened to their stuff and I thought, wow, these guys are really doing a great job. And that band is called No Spoon.
Oh, No
Funny
Spoon.
name. No
Yes.
Spoon.
Opus. Their album's Opus, isn't it?
Great. It's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, they did a fantastic job. So
Yeah.
I know they've been around for a while and it's kind of that one kind of caught all our attention.
Yeah.
But, I appreciate when guys do like, great job like that.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
that was a real. That's they've been around for a while, but it took them a long time to record it. They were working on it for a long time, and I think it was self-released as well. It was
right. Right. But wow,
yeah,
amazing.
totally. They're not signed, so
yeah,
they've done really really well. And yes, you're right. They're getting a lot of attention from a lot of people.
Yeah. But these days I'm in the mode of like preparing for our tour because we have this massive world tour coming up and I got a lot of work to do and I'm programming and listening and and
all that
doing a bunch of interviews for the various albums.
Sorry.
And tours and yeah, no, that's all right. That's cool. And also the other thing I'm doing right now that's kind of interesting is I've been working as I've had a residency at MIT in the media labs, and we've been working on this pretty cool AI music project. So, I'm really into the technology side of things and I've done a lot of musical expression with technology and produced different instruments through my company, Wisdom Music. I don't know if you know that side of what I do.
I know a bit about it. I mean, I had that in my notes that you've done released a lot of albums, you've done a lot of collaborations, and obviously you've got your tech company and software company along the side. How you find time to do it all, I don't know.
It's just what I love to do.
Yeah.
So I just somehow find time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell you just for a second about this, and then I should probably go because I do have another interview at 11.
Yeah.
So this work, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of a lot of people are up in arms about like AI and and all that kind of stuff. And and I get all that, but at the same time, I get very excited about the possibilities of new technology and what it could bring to the joy and the and the entertainment values and educational values in music. And so I tend to go for it. I always feel like my position in all this stuff is, yes, I absolutely understand all the concerns and the things that need to be worked out in the courts and to make things fair, hopefully. But at the same time, I push forward and try to make sure that the technology is we can steer it in a positive direction.
Sure.
So I've been working with a team at MIT on a very interesting AI music project, which the idea of it is it's kind of like an interactive concept where the AI is not only just generating musical material, it's also like predicting and responding to what I play or what somebody plays in real time. So we're developing, we call it in a playful way, Baby Jordan. So I've been helping to train the models. So when the AI plays back, it's very much thinking along the lines that I'm thinking musically, right?
Yeah.
So an example being like one of the models we're training does melodic structures or leads. So I'll play a chord. The way I trained it is I'll play a chord and then I play different leads on top of it. And I know how to kind of like put those in succession and do that. So when we feed it into the computer, then the end result is I can play a chord, and the model will go, oh, okay, I'll play this riff over that chord, and I play another chord. Oh, I can make this change over it.
Right.
And so it's becoming very, very interesting because it's kind of like you think about the educational value of that, where an artist like myself could kind of invest the time in educating the model, and then somebody could really learn from that. Like, how did you think about going from a C major 7 to a C minor 7 chord, and what did you change when you played your melodic passage. So I'm working towards this performance that's happening in September, right before I go into rehearsal with Dream Theater, which is we're calling it a work in progress performance at MIT, where I'll do a performance with baby Jordan, kind of show the state of it. So that's one of the big things that's happening right before I hit the road and actually come over to the UK to start this madness.
Cool. Right. Well, I better let you go then.
I should go. Yeah, I should.
Yeah. Thank you. As I say, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope the album does well. There's another week to go, week and a bit, and it'll be out.
Oh, well, thanks so much for this lovely time together, and also for the energy and support with getting the word out about this album. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's been brilliant. Thank you ever so much.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.